Maniac Mansion. Why is there a chainsaw in the kitchen? And welcome to Nostalgia, a chronological exploration of every NES game released in North America. I'm Mike.
I'm Sean.
And I'm Joe.
Guys, why is there a chainsaw in the kitchen?
You know, I didn't think about it until I realized that that's what they put on the back of the box. And now I'm like really questioning, why is there a chainsaw in the kitchen?
It's one of the main questions of our time, actually.
It's just to mess with you, though, because as far as I know, you can't use the chainsaw for anything in the game.
Is there not any way to get gas? I tried to use it, but it said it doesn't have any gas.
It's useless.
You're starting with a great reference already, Joe, because, listen, I know Maniac Mansion has many fans, and they're going to ask you, like, hey, you didn't say this, you didn't include this, you didn't mention this. It's like, I know it's going to happen, but I might as well say that the cans of gas, it is kind of famously known that the cans of gas do show up in other Lucasfilm games as, like, maybe a and they don't do anything in those games, as maybe a reference to, like, oh, we accidentally put them in this game instead. Ha ha ha.
Oh, I buy it.
I love that, actually. That gives very this game energy.
Yes. And this game, before we even like go into what it is and all that, like Maniac Mansion is not something that like I ever heard of, like growing up in the, away from computers and away from the NES. Like it wasn't known to me. But it is known to me now as a pretty big deal, not even just from, like, my research and everything, but just, like, from our listeners who have written in or are on our Discord. They've all, like, expressed this game pretty highly. Did you guys know about Maniac Mansion?
Yeah, I never really had a really compelling reason to play it, because I also, like, I learned about Maniac Mansion when I was learning about what then turned out to be its sequel. Like, they have the Tentacle and other point-and-click adventures like Monkey Island and some Sierra stuff. Like, I was always kind of interested in this kind of game, and just every time someone would complain about it and be like, oh, but the logic, and, like, you have to get cat hair to make a mustache. Like, it kind of turned me off to the whole genre. But it's always been something I've been interested in.
Wait, people would complain about Maniac Mansion with the cat hair?
No, that's a different game, but just adventure game logic.
Okay, I was going to say, like, I didn't get to anything with cat hair.
No. I forgot what game that is.
So I had heard of Maniac Mansion. Like, the title resonates in my head as just something I've heard a million times, but really was not even aware it was a point-and-click adventure game until, like, a few days before I picked it up. So yeah, it's just something where I'm like, I recognize that this is a well-known game, for better or for worse, before I started playing it.
Right. And so it's a point-and-click adventure game, as both of you have mentioned, that originated on computers like the Commodore 64 and the Apple II, before eventually making its way over here on the NES. It is notable for being made by mostly two guys, Ron Gilbert and Gary Winnick, on a completely custom video game engine of their own called Scum. The script creation utility for Maniac Mansion. And plenty of other podcasts out there will cover, like, the making of this game and all that, so I don't want to get too in the weeds there. But I will just say that, like, it's already got a pretty impressive start here. Like, you can tell that these two guys were pretty passionate about this project and pretty passionate about bringing it to life and having people experiment with what they can do. And experiment is really what this game is all about. We have experienced point-and-click adventure games on the podcast before. The most famous example, Shadowgate, which is on our essential games list. This is not like Shadowgate, but it is the same rules kind of apply. But the way that the Scum engine works specifically is with this verb noun mechanic, where you kind of have to say, I'm going to use, and then click on something, and then click on the next thing that you want to do in order to do it. So use, and then key, and then click on door, and you will use the key to open the door. It's that kind of system, and it's so much more than that. There's push, open, get, pull, close. You get the idea. There's a lot of...
Yeah, no, list them all off.
No, there's just a lot of verbs, which I think, like, you know, that's an interesting way of doing it. And I don't know anything about point-and-click adventure games, but it might be, like, one of, if not the earliest example of that kind of system.
Yeah, and I just got to say that with what surprised me the most about this system, because, yeah, I'm playing this, you know, from the benefit of being from the future, and I've played other games with this kind of thing before, and just my knowledge of the NES so far, I was impressed with how much they added, like, quality of life things to that system, where they gave you the ability to have your most commonly used verbs in a hotkey on select. And that took away I feel like any other game that had this kind of style, if it were made on the NES, like, would not do that, just based on the track record of NES and like quality of life improvements. So, like, it seems like a lot with all these verbs and stuff, but it moves pretty quickly because it seems like they thought about that.
Yeah, the whole because, you know, I think you might be right that this is the first that uses this kind of, like, you can click on the actions that you need to use instead of like Zork, where you have to type in, like, turn left or go east, whatever. And the amount of, not even just that whole system being a quality of life improvement on the entire genre, but also the hockey stuff. Like, I just wouldn't have imagined that, because, like, you know, we've played a lot of ports, and we played a lot of games that just, like, did not make full use of the controller, and we always kind of point out, like, oh, they could have just done this, or, like, oh, hold this button down, do that. And the fact that they, on the first try, did something like this made it a lot, like, simpler and more digestible. It's great. I agree.
And a large appeal of the game, besides the exploration or experimentation, is the actual plot and setting of this Maniac Mansion. The story follows 3 teenagers. You must always play as Dave, but you get to choose 2 other characters. And they're not just like, oh, this one's male, this one's female, or, oh, this one does this one... It's like they actually have the potential to open up different endings and solve puzzles in different ways. So there's some replayability just there, choosing which 3 teens you go with. And these 3 teens are going to this mansion because Dave's girlfriend, Sandy Pants, has been kidnapped by Dr. Fred Edison. And, you know, somehow I'm sure it's going to tie into the story, and we know it does by now, obviously. But in the beginning of the game, you also learn that a meteor had crashed near the mansion a while back. So all of this, just from the start, immediately gave me, like, Rocky Horror Picture Show vibes. Did you guys find any, like, allusions, not necessarily to that, but just, like, you know, those kinds of, like, hokey horror films or cheesy stuff?
I've never seen Rocky Horror Picture Show, but I've seen the logo, and I think it feels a lot like the logo in Maniac Mansion. So I think, yeah, for sure.
I've also never seen it, but I just, regardless, I think right away playing this game, you kind of, you get that it has a sense of humor pretty quickly. I mean, I don't know about you guys. I had Bernard in my party, and right away Dave says, like, all right, like, thanks for coming with me, guys. Like, you know, it's going to be dangerous. So if anyone wants to leave, and then Dave, like, kind of gets up and does, like, oh, I'm getting out of here, and, like, runs away. And then, you know, like, you got to bring him back. And it's, they call Tuna Head. That's right.
Yeah.
Tuna Head, but that is a censorship from the original where it was "Don't be a shit." No, it was "Don't be a shithead."
Don't say that. Don't say that on air.
Well, I actually think what's funnier
you can
is
just dub over it with Tuna Head later.
Right, but isn't Tuna Head, like, even just the better line if we're being objective about it? Like, I feel like that's the one that's it, like, that would stick with people. I feel like "Don't be a shithead" is just like, wow, Dave's a dick, you know.
Yeah,
but like, "Don't be a Tuna Head" is like, oh, that's actually pretty funny.
It helps with the vibe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And just, like, you know, I think they allegedly were going for more of, like, a Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th kind of vibe, but I stand by my Rocky Horror Picture Show thing just because of, like, Dr. Fred could be Dr. Frankenfurter. Dead Ted, it's like that could be the Meatloaf character. It depends on how you want to look at it.
Is it on record somewhere that they were going for a more Nightmare on Elm Street thing? Because like throughout the whole game, it's all humorous. Like the whole
it's
thing.
like teen horror, but like it's parody of teen horror.
Yeah,
right. But Joe, have you ever seen Nightmare on Elm Street? Because I actually do think that movie's kind of funny.
But it's like unintentionally funny, right? Like it's not like
I don't know. I think what Wes Craven knows what he's leaning into.
No, okay. I've never seen it, so I don't know. I just assumed it was like maybe
No, it's
campy.
not grimdark. It is campy.
Well, wait. So is it intentionally funny or not?
You know what?
Campy.
Yeah, I think there's always some humor and horror. I think that go hand in hand. But
right.
we're
this is like almost slapstick.
Absolutely.
Like, I mean, you give the plant a can of Coke or Pepsi because Pepsi's probably a sponsor.
This
like,
is
things like that
scary
like
movie level.
Silly,
right?
Yes,
but it does have to be slapstick though, just given the nature of like you've done the input and now you need the result, right?
What do you mean?
Almost everything is like you did this thing, so now as a result this happens, and I feel like that leans itself into the slapstick nature of like because you did this to the tentacle reacts by doing this. Am I wrong?
I mean, even it just being like, speaking of the tentacle, like getting into spoilers here, but like if you can't get past the tentacle later on, it's like he's depressed because he'll never get his band started, and he feels down because he ate too much food. Like,
I don't know if that's the right way to go about it, because like we already played Sweet Home on our other podcast, and like that is definitely going for a more straight horror vibe, but that also is just like, I mean, it's not like it's not quite as Clockwork Puzzle Box, but there's still like you have to do this to do that to do this to do that. I think that it is intentionally leaning towards humor as a choice, and not just because like, oh well, it can't be a video game and scary.
Well, what's funnier than microwaving a hamster?
You can do that?
I don't know if that's like. I never tried to do that.
You can do it depending. You can do it depending on the version of the game
exactly,
you have.
Yeah.
Can you do it in this one?
Nintendo did not catch it immediately.
Wow.
Like they had them censor a lot of stuff, but they didn't catch it initially. And so I don't know if that like raises the value of some of those copies. Probably, but like I don't know if like I don't know if price charting like differentiates them, but they should because that is that actually like has a gameplay consequence where if you microwave the hamster and then show it, you will be murdered. So like that can't happen.
Well, I got it. I mean, just already. What are we? 10 minutes into this episode, already just with everything we're saying, like it's making me realize even more than I already had how much else is in this game that I didn't experience. Like, and I beat the game. Like this game just has branches and branches. It seems like I as you're talking about this, I don't know what you're supposed to do with the microwave, but I forgot about the microwave. I opened it when I first got in the building, and like
the microwave mostly does
there.
bad things, but yeah, there is one key moment.
Yes, and Sean, I don't think we're doing the plot in order anyway. So just go ahead and talk about that key moment, because I think this again just shows either the ridiculousness or the brilliance of this game.
Yeah, it does like the old timey. I don't really know where else I've seen this like trope of steaming an envelope to get it open. Like I know that it's a thing that could be done when people used envelopes, but I didn't know how burned into my brain that was as like a pop culture thing. But you need to open an envelope without breaking open the envelope. And
that makes sense. Yeah.
And you can do that in the microwave with some non-radioactive water and the envelope. So,
but you don't need to open that up. Like there's always like a way around.
No. There's it's a one way to do one of the endings.
Yeah.
Which is
I
the
just
one
ripped
ending
the
I saw.
envelope open. And
now it's a useless envelope.
Yeah, but I assume, just based on context, that if I wanted to, I'm guessing I could like either take pictures of what's going on and then send them to get published.
You're close.
Okay, because there's a TV that has like we publish anything infomercial on it, and I don't know.
So if we don't care
Go
about spoilers, I mean,
We don't.
It's the meteor that has a memoir that he wants published, and then that's how you beat the meteors, flatter his ego, and get him published.
And then he goes on a talk show.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. That's
yeah. See,
so, like,
this is
totally
adventure game logic.
Yeah.
Well, Joe, what happened for you though is great too, because again, that's the genius of the game, is that like you will play with different characters and solve the puzzles, or solve basically, because they're different puzzles too. So you'll solve the end game state differently than Sean will, and then you'll talk about it, and then you'll be like, shit, I want to go see the meteor memoir ending. And then it's like, well, don't you want to also see, like, don't you want to get the tentacle, his recording contract thing? Like, you don't always have to do all of these beats. And so I think it's really funny that the best part of this game in the exploration is that it kind of rewards those who really just try everything and anything and go a little absurd with it. And the whole thing about, like, steaming the envelope, like, is kind of a source of frustration. I think, like, that's not inherently clear, but it's the kind of thing that, like, I don't know, somebody will do eventually, or you'll read about in a magazine. It's like, it's not necessarily, because it's not the only way to beat the game. Mm-hmm. It's fine that it's kind of like challenging to come up with that in your head.
Yeah,
and Sean
I agree.
did.
There are enough stupid combinations that you're bound to hit at least one of them.
Yeah, and I'll say that I was surprised at how much was not, like, how much was able to be solved almost intuitively. Like, there are a lot of things that were tough, that were like tough combinations that I figured out without a guide. And I feel like that speaks to this game.
What was
putting
it?
Things that have like a level of intuition. I won't say that was everything. There were definitely a few things, especially towards the end, where I was like, what am I supposed to do here? And, I like to think that with unlimited time, and if I wasn't like kind of trying to finish this game a couple times before the podcast, that I could have figured that stuff out, but I did have to use a guide for a few things at the end. But, like, a lot of the other things, I'm just doing trial and error and, like, surprisingly making decent progress, and it feels good to make that progress in this game.
I would say I kind of felt a little bit the opposite, but just from my own, like, exploration nature. Like, I first played the game without a guide and did just kind of get, like, lost in there doing things, which was fine. Like, that was kind of fun in itself, to just poke around at things without having, like, a clear, like, it's very obvious when they tell you at the beginning that the key, I should check under the doormat, right? So you do, and there's the key, and then you get inside. But there's not, like, that next step thing where, like, someone says, like, oh, now we need to feed the plant, or now we need to get down to the dungeon, right?
Modern game might.
Right, exactly.
Right.
But I'm fine with all of that. This is not a complaint. I'm saying, like, that was also just, like, it's a completely different thing for me, where, like, now I'm just poking around at things and learning how the system works and having fun and seeing some weird things. I got captured by that nurse, the blue nurse, and she took me down to the dungeon, so I had to get another kid in the house, and, like, that stuff's all fun. Once I used a guide to, again, to experience more of this game, it was kind of like, I don't know if I would have thought of that on my own. I don't know if I was, that's a me thing. Like, I was like, I don't know if I was that clever.
Yeah. I mean, and for me, it was a lot more, like, I agree with what you're saying. I do think it was like, it wasn't like you go in there and you know what to do next. It's like you go in there and you experiment around, but then each thing you learn about the house gives you, like, a hint about something else you could maybe do. And the way those elements compound on each other has, like, this really satisfying conclusion oftentimes, where you find out, oh, wait, I have this food, and there's this tentacle that wants food upstairs, and I can't open this garage door because I'm not strong enough, but there's a hunk-o-matic, workout machine upstairs. Maybe I go try that, come back down, open the door. It's like the more you're discovering, it felt like I was able to put most of these things together without a guide. And I did play with multiple people as I like to do, and so that was helpful too, because we were like talking it through a lot of times, and we had four brains among us to try and figure some things out. But that is what, and I think that you're saying the same thing, Mike. It seems like that, that's to me what the beauty was here, was that it's not holding your hand, that you're exploring, and your exploration is what's kind of giving you progress.
Yeah, and for the first time ever, I'm also saying, in a way, it's a positive thing that you kind of need, and maybe this is just who I am right now, I'm doing a lot of this stuff, but, you need to read the manual or own that copy of Nintendo Power, it's funny how, in the manual, there's a thing about being sent to the dungeon isn't bad, it can even be good, and it's followed by, and there's a loose brick in the dungeon. That's not that's pretty important knowledge that I don't think I would ever know if I didn't look at the manual.
Honestly, I didn't scanning around. I don't know.
I didn't read the manual. That was one thing that I just found because I was hopelessly looking for something, and then that pops up. I think it's actually a lot easier to find than it seems because
I think this game. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I just say all you're doing is hovering over everything you possibly can to see if an indicator comes up. So it just came up. I mean, it probably took us 3 or 4 minutes of aimlessness before we're like, hey, what was that?
Yeah, I think this game has a lot of situations that you can fail. There's a lot of fail states, but they are real fail states, and they are also. I just don't think that there's too many ways to soft lock yourself, and even if you do that, your character would probably will comment on well, that was a waste or something along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
And so that makes me think that if my only option is to flail around in this dungeon, it's not going to put me in a position where this character is just now locked in the dungeon forever unless he's the only character left. So I think I could read that from the game, that there was always some way forward if you didn't waste an item or something like that, and to know that it's probably going to tell you when you wasted that item.
Yeah, plus it's generous with the save ability. I mean, you can save the game.
Yeah, it's funny because even when you press the start and get that menu, that kind of feels like computer game to me, that whole layout and everything.
Saves coming?
No, yeah, sure, absolutely. But even just the way it looks, it just looked like it was this must be directly from the computer game. It doesn't read NES to me the way it has different icons and pictures and blocks for saving and resuming. And but to go back to the soft lock thing, I agree that it's not the end of the world if there are dead ends, but apparently there are a lot of dead ends in this game. It is known, and I don't have an exhaustive list in front of me, but I can see from here there's at least 12 different dead ends. Yeah.
Did you guys run into any dead ends? Because I don't think I did. Now, my first playthrough, I did eventually die, and I started over, and I might have had a dead end because I did use the paint thinner on the wrong thing.
Yes, that is one of the dead ends.
That's a dead end. Okay, well, so I died before I got to the point where I was like, well, I guess I can't complete this
But
game
even
now.
that dead end, that's actually the example I was using, is when you do that, you fucked up.
Right. Yeah, it was before, when I did that, it was before I realized that I could just save it at any time.
I remember reading about, I really forgot, again, which adventure game this was, but if you do something in the first 15 minutes of playing it, and I really wish I could be more illustrative and interesting to listen to by knowing exactly what it was.
Is it the mirror shard?
No, I forgot what it's. Either you drink something or you eat something, and then hours later in the third act, it's oh, you did that thing way back then. You died, and it's that would infuriate me and turn me off of the genre entirely if that happened to me. I wish I knew what this was. Somebody will know, and then tell me how goofy I am to bring up something that I only know very tertiary details of.
You're so goofy. I don't know the mirror shard thing either. I saw it in a YouTube video coverage of the making of Maniac Mansion, and allegedly the story goes that there was an adventure game where it wasn't what you're describing, where you get punished hours later, but there were shards of a mirror, and when you pick it up, it's an insta death. It cuts you and kills you. Apparently, it got really deep, and that frustrated the Maniac Mansion developer to the point where they were like, I'm going to make sure that doesn't happen in my game. Like, that you would just have I can pick up a piece of glass and know that I'm not going to die in real life. Why did I die in this video game? And I think that's an interesting quote, because there are some things in this game that don't necessarily have, like, real-world logic to it. I don't think I would feed a plant Pepsi, even if it was talking to me.
I mean, it's 12 full ounces, though.
That's true. Yeah, so I think, even though we're talking about a lot about the various gameplay puzzle solutions or how intuitive they were, I think we do need to come back to just the setting and characters of this game, because it really is a large part of the charm, and will be the kind of the make or break, I think, for a lot of people, is whether you dig this adventure, right? Like, I think of some other point-and-click games that I've played on, like, Steam for, like, 5 minutes, and I was just like, nope, not digging this aesthetic, Like, I'm not going to play this game because it looks like this. I feel like Maniac Mansion could have that problem, but also, it can be incredibly enhanced as a result. Like, Joe, you were talking about the Hunko machine earlier, where you use that to get stronger. Like, silly things like that, like, that's the kind of stuff that appeals to me, because, again, it's an easy clue, it's communicated well, it doesn't have real-world logic, because obviously you wouldn't get that strong that fast, but, like,
right.
It works in the sense of, it works in the gameplay, and it works for the world that they built.
Yeah, and it does have it has a logic to it that I'm like, I wonder if that will work, and I'll try it,
We were talking about the endings at the beginning of the episode, which is funny, but there were a lot of interesting endings that I found online that, like, made me think, like, oh, maybe there's even more endings than I know. And one of the interesting endings that I didn't see in a YouTube video but saw described on, like, a fan website was the same thing with the meteor. You get its memoir published, it goes on a talk show. But there's an alternate ending to that ending, where if you call the police and then get the meteor, his
the meteor
memoirs,
police.
Oh.
Yeah, if you call the meteor police and get the meteor book published, like, immediately after, it will do the talk show. But the meteor police will interrupt the talk show
That's amazing.
and arrest him
I love
on
that.
the show.
I can't believe that they, like, planned for that.
Joe, did you know about the meteor police?
Yeah, that's how I beat the game.
Oh,
was
okay.
with the meteor police. So I went a totally different direction than you guys, I think, but not with the talk show meteor police. Not them coming on the talk show, but
Yeah, just the arrest.
I think I laughed, like, actually legitimately out loud when I finally got that code for the radio, and I fixed the radio with the tube or whatever. And then I call it, it's just like this alien, and he's like, "Hello, meteor police." Like, I was just like, what is happening right now?
And I don't know about you guys, but, like, when I saw the meteor thing at the beginning, like, I wasn't expecting, I don't know what I was expecting, but I wasn't expecting, like, a sentient meteor, and I wasn't expecting, like, that the meteor is actually possessing, like, Dr. Fred
Right.
to do all that stuff, too, in the first place. Like, it got pretty, like, it got pretty weird in a good way for me, but, like, maybe not, like, in the most comprehensible way for, like, kids.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's I didn't really think about, like, how, I mean, honestly, as much as I'm kind of raving about how, like, intuitive and how these things, like, are easier to figure out than I would think. I stand by that, but I do think that, like, yeah, if I'm 10 years old, I'll probably just play this game infinitely and never beat it, because like I'll be like, what am I supposed to do? Like, I'm not gonna know at 10 years old to put the envelope in the microwave.
I think I think you're not giving your 10-year-old self enough credit. I think, again, if you played this game enough, you just try everything. But I think to Mike's point, the humor and like the kinds of things that happen, like the turns that this game takes, such as having a meteorite be sentient, and then all those other things. I think I'd be more into it then than I am now. Like now, like this just kind of falls into like, oh, this is almost like a lull so random kind of thing, where I'm not fully turned on by I can imagine myself not being fully into all the like, oh, so there's a, first of all, the meteor is sentient and now there's a police force in the sky. This is not believable at all. Like, I think my unimaginative stupid adult brain won't let myself have fun. Whereas I think as a kid, like maybe I'd be like, oh, maybe there are meteor police. You know? Yeah. I don't know. Maybe that's not the case.
I think I could see a case for both for me, because I think that when I was a kid, I would just kind of like go with it. I'd be like, oh yeah, this is like what's happening. This is what's happening in this game, is like, yeah, there's meteor. And now I am like, this is ridiculous, but as long as it's not interfering with my ability to figure out what to do next, like I'm fully on board for this weird ride. Like, I love it.
There was also another ending that I'm not entirely sure if you have to do anything specific other than make sure Dave is dead for it to happen. But if Dave is dead and you still finish the game, you can apparently have Razor, the girl with the music talent, Razor and Sandy kiss at the end. And, and I'm sure a lot of, young boys wanted to see that happen, even as crude as the graphics were.
Or maybe their parents found out and then they write a letter. Strongly worded letter.
Right. Thinking about the verb system, any verbs you guys like would have wanted to add? I say that not having anything like at the ready,
but I do. Yes,
inspect 100%. Would have. There you go. That's a good one.
I used read a lot and hoped that I would like see it, but I was like never clear. Like, does read mean like look at? Can I just see what this is? Examine?
Yeah, I mean, definitely for things that have text, read is what you'd use. But like, I would think that there would be, because this is very low res, even compared to the OG game. So I would think that there would be situations where you would want to take a closer look, or at least hear a short paragraph of what you're actually looking at. But it did feel kind of like there was something missing that wasn't there. But I think that also speaks to the clarity that the game has, not so much in what you're supposed to do with each item, but at least the clarity that when you point at something, it tells you what it is in the most general sense, and then the art is clear enough that you don't really need that explanation of like instead of looking at the radio and saying like, this is a radio, it looks like it's 20 years old, it looks like I could probably break it open. Like, no, it's just you see a radio, you can press open radio if you want and you'll get batteries or something out of it. But I don't think it really needed that inspect button.
Yeah, the only reason that I ever wanted it was like sometimes there'd be like a poster, and I feel like most of the time Reed worked on that, but then other times it didn't, or there were just times where I wasn't sure, like, is this something I don't know, like, what is this? You know what I mean? Like sometimes I'd be like, there'd be something on the wall, and I would be like, do I read this? Is this a picture? Is this a switch? Like I can't tell what this is because some of it is like hard to interpret. Like I don't think it hindered my ability to do anything, but I did several times be like, can I just look at this
because
and
whenever
have it
you
tell me
hover
what this
over
is?
it, it at least gives you a name of the thing.
Yeah, that's true. But like, there's there's pictures of at the top of the stairs, and I don't think they actually ended up mattering. So like maybe this is me wanting something that wouldn't have helped because it was never actually needed, but at the time I wasn't sure if it was needed. But there's pictures at the top of the first set of stairs of Edna and I don't know, the son, whatever.
Ed, I don't know.
Yeah, whatever, whoever these people are, and like I want to see like what there is, like what it is, but it's pixelated, so it's hard to really tell. I don't know. There were just a few times where I'm like, yeah, I'm just like, I would like to be able. There's a wanted poster. I mean, that's obviously Reed. There were definitely situations, and I cannot think of one right now. There are definitely situations where I was like, I want to like look at this thing to just see what it is.
I can't believe we couldn't smell anything.
I don't think
that's a joke.
Sniff.
I don't
should have been able to sniff everything, though, and
appropriate.
then just have it described. Well, I could see some hilarious situations. You microwave the hamster, and then you sniff.
Yeah, that's inappropriate.
Speaking of inappropriate and censorships, it goes beyond the hamster, obviously. The hamster is just a very famous example. There were, like, Playboy calendars. There was, or maybe it wasn't Playboy, maybe it was just like a swimsuit.
Calendar.
Yeah, no, it was a swimsuit calendar. It was
Yeah.
turned into a regular calendar in this game. There was a sculpture with boobies, like all that stuff out. Can't have it in my Nintendo game. Which is funny in a way, that Nintendo had to be like I don't know. I feel like occasionally we've seen.
We have.
Not full frontal, but we've seen enough.
Yeah, weren't there like mermaids in some game or something?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Do you guys know about the television adaptation of Maniac Mansion?
I do.
Did you watch the 10th anniversary special? Very confused if that was actually the first episode or not?
I didn't watch any of it. I just had it read to me on a Wikipedia article of like what this was.
Yeah, I saw some screenshots of it, or just like some stills, and I wanted to watch it. I couldn't fit it into my very busy schedule.
Yes, of course.
Tell us.
Well, what's interesting about it is that the first episode is called the 10th anniversary special, and it's meta in all the ways that you can imagine. But like, it's also just like, it was confusing to me at first. Like, I was like, is this the 10th anniversary special of the first episode of Maniac Mansion? Is this actually the first episode? Like, that took me a while to like confirm, but I did confirm that the episode is just called the 10th anniversary special. And what's interesting is that if you were to make a Maniac Mansion TV show, in my opinion, you would focus on the kids that went around the mansion and explored it. And like, I'm not saying make a whole show where they're walking around a mansion. That's boring. But like, I would focus on the kids. They didn't go that route. They didn't focus on Dave and Sandy and all that. And what you get is kind of like just the mansion and like the aesthetic of that, and a very, very big departure from the game otherwise. To the point where, like, obviously, if it's going to be 3 seasons, like, you're going to have to get away from the game. But, like, man, how did Maniac Mansion, the TV show, get 3 seasons?
That is insane. Yeah. And then hearing that, like, Eugene Levy had a hand in it. And
yes.
Also, like, because when I first saw this coming up and read the Wikipedia article, I saw that, like, oh, and there's a TV show. And I would never have guessed that the game came first. Like, we've played so many TV and movie adaptations that I was like, oh, this must be a really fun way to adapt a TV show with all the characters from the show. But it turns out it was the complete opposite. Like, I did not know that would be the case.
Yeah, I thought the same thing.
And the show is, it's referential, it's a little meta, you have characters, specifically in the first episode, but I believe the trend continues, breaking the fourth wall, it kind of feels like it's following in the footsteps of Twin Peaks a little bit.
What
like
I was gonna say.
It has that kind of vibe to it. Maybe a little more family friendly. Although
but Twin Peaks wasn't out yet.
Well, when was Twin Peaks? Was that 90 as well?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, yeah. So they're like fighting each other. So technically, I agree with you, Sean, that like they couldn't both be like doing it at the same time and copying each other. But like, I don't know, maybe that was just a sign of the times, right? That like two shows came out very close together and feel kind of related, and loosely related, obviously.
Well, also, I mean, we're talking about a game that came out on the NES in 1990. This was 87.
Yeah, no, yeah, for sure, yeah. I'm talking about the TV shows right now, because the TV show came out.
Oh, you're right. Okay, yeah. Copy.
Which is funny, because that means that maybe they were thinking about that. Like, we should get it on the NES, because we're about to have this TV show, and we need people to become more familiar with it, because let's be honest, like, did everyone growing up have a Commodore 64?
Oh.
Like, yeah, a television. Yeah, what is this? What is that, Back to the Future, where he's like, yeah, we got one in every room, and they're like,
I like the idea of people having NESs but not televisions.
Right, what are they doing? No, I meant like those kinds of computers capable of playing those video games. Like, I don't know about you guys, but like we eventually got Windows 95, and it was amazing, but that was in 95, Like, we didn't really have a computer capable of playing video games before that. I don't know, like...
You mean your house personally?
My house personally, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know how many other people, though, have that experience of, like, yeah, like, we had a ZX Spectrum, and my dad would always let me, he'd buy video games for me on it. It's like, I don't think computer games were selling at anywhere near the amount that NES games were selling.
I don't know the numbers, but your vibes sound correct to me.
Like, this is an expensive computer. I feel like they're not going to let, like, the kid game on it. But again, just a vibe.
We go by vibes here. Sorry.
That's okay. Yeah, we're going by vibes. And speaking of vibes, the music in this game. Oh. What a vibe. Fantastic music. It's funny because I had in my notes, when I write my notes as I'm playing the game, I had that it's, like, a little annoying that the music is playing like in the house at full blast all the time as you're like exploring it, but I take that back. Like I learned to love that each character has a song, and at first I guess I was thinking more like I wanted the mansion to have like
a soundscape to it,
like a soundscape to it, but like I don't know, these are pretty rockin' tracks all throughout the game, including the main menu.
The main menu is maybe one of my favorites so far on the NES. But I liked I think all of these songs were great. I think they were some of the top tier NES songs we've had so far, but I did get annoyed with them after
I got annoyed with them immediately.
I turned them off.
I was not as high on the soundtrack as you guys are. In fact, one of the first things I did was turn off each CD player, and
yeah. I think it took me like 10 minutes to turn off the music, but...
And then, I don't know if it was a bug or if this is just how it's, designed, but I went into another room, and then the CD player turned on again, but I hadn't turned the CD player back on, so I couldn't turn off the CD player until I then turned on the CD player again and turned it off again. And maybe it was just, going into the library is just where that bug is, because I didn't really run into it again later. But that was is this game going to do this the whole time?
And the Famicom version of Maniac Mansion is it's a bit different in the art style from the NES one. They're not the same. The characters are redrawn, not to be like chibi or anything, but they don't look like how they look in the NES version. And that the house in general is just pretty damn empty. It's a little strange. You have to pull it up on your own to kind of see it, what I'm talking about, but it is a different game in that regard. Even the UI is different. It's in boxes. It's maybe it was just they wanted to make it more familiar to the kind of adventure games that Japanese players were playing, but it's kind of weird that they're not just identical ports of each other with maybe some difficulty changes or something like we're used to talking about. They're kind of two different games that ultimately play the same exact way, just the way that they look is completely presented differently.
If I'm looking at them correctly, it does look like it comes from a different system entirely. Like it looks worse, right?
It
Oh,
looks
yeah, way
Game
worse.
Boy-ish or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Game Boy-ish is what I would say.
I don't know if the Game Boy could do this, but I know I know what you're saying. Like, but even just like, you know what I'm talking about? Like, why is the house so empty? Like, I feel like there's barely anything to find inside of it.
Yeah, I'm just looking at stills, so I can't really see the emptiness of the house, but the style looks very different.
It's also all the rooms are as wide as can be. You see everything in them from when you enter the room.
Yeah, it looks less like like we're trying to go for some sense of like perspective and more like here's a video game room. I don't know.
And Sean, you talked about the sequel, Day of the Tentacle. Did you play it?
No, that was like, that's one of the like highest rated, or not rated, but like the most respected point and click adventure games of all time, and I had no idea that it was related to this game at all until starting to play this. So I kind of want to play it now.
What's funny
what
is,
system is it on?
PC.
Oh, okay.
Day of the Tentacle is like in huge green letters, and then like Maniac Mansion is just like tucked in there in the top left, like Maniac Mansion, Day of the Tentacle. It's like I could understand that. That it looks like
I didn't know that was part of that. Wow.
Yeah, I have not played the game, but it does look like that's the mansion in the background, and the tentacle obviously is hopefully the same tentacles that we had fun with in the first Maniac Mansion.
That's funny.
Where was the Day of the Tentacle TV show for 3 seasons? If you did get stuck as a kid, you weren't stuck forever. You had Nintendo Power actually got a Maniac Mansion got a cover issue of Nintendo Power. That's pretty big to be on the cover.
Yeah,
like that means you're gonna get you're gonna basically get like half a game guide inside your issue and everything. So which it did. So you could have found out about things that way, or for just $7.95, and that includes shipping and handling.
That was what I was going to talk about. Yeah,
$7.95, a hint book with puzzle solutions, a map of the mansion. That sounds like a great buy. Considering the game was $50, what's another $10 to just like figure out what to do?
Wow, the game was $50.
All of them were apparently.
NES games?
$49.95 is what I was
really?
seeing.
Wow,
yeah.
That's a lot higher than I thought they would have been.
I think I've heard some Super Nintendo games were selling for like $80.
Wow, I knew that the N64 got like really high. I just didn't realize that before that they were that high.
Well, yeah, I feel like N64 games were also $50 for me growing up. Maybe there was an exception here or there. And then
PS1
I remember
was $50.
Yeah, and then I remember it was like PS2 where they became $60, right?
Yeah.
And it's kind of weird.
No, I think it was PS1 and 2 that was $50, and it wasn't until PS3 era.
Oh,
see, really, I remember $60 for PS2.
Well, I'm saying you're wrong, and I'm not going to accept anything else.
Okay.
Well, it's funny because like people are barely accepting of 70, but it's been like forever, like even if it was the PS3, like that, I hate to tell people, but the PS3 came out a long time ago now. So it's funny how like games probably need to be like $100 now just to even like be profitable.
Don't let them hear you.
I don't know. It's already happening with Grand Theft Auto 6. It's inevitable.
But you see, like, I think that's like that's what you have to sell, right? So like Grand Theft Auto 6, I know like you'll pay the 100, Sean, right? Am I wrong?
Of course.
So, but where would you draw the line on Grand Theft Auto 6? Would you pay 110?
Probably not.
That's funny. So 100's the line.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. Like, especially like we were just talking about, like N64 games. Like those were going for like 50, 60 at the time too, right?
50, but yes, they were basically. I mean, inflation adjusted. That's like probably 70.
Yeah, it's like $100 and something game. I guess like I understand that if it's going to be a Rockstar level, like a Rockstar level of scale and detail and just how much stuff is in there, I'm kind of okay. If I had to pay $100 for Red Dead Redemption 2, I would be okay with it. But I'm not going to pay $100 for some like multiplayer
Assassin's
game
Creed.
Assassin's Creed or something like that.
Right.
So anyway, this is very in the weeds, but you asked.
Yeah, well, I did.
Well, I've got something to bring us back that I've wanted to mention for a while that I would hate to miss. Just how impressed I am with the fact that there are like real-time events that happen in Maniac Mansion.
Oh
that
yeah,
are actually happening in the background while you're playing. Like you can see a cutscene where Ed is like, I gotta run down and get this thing, and then if you go in the next few seconds, if you go in between where the thing he's going to get is and where he's coming from, you'll see him and he'll catch you.
Yeah, but we didn't even talk about the big thing here, which is they coined cutscenes with this game. Like the term cutscene came from this game. The fact that in the manual, in quotations, it says cut-scene to describe what a cutscene is, that's astounding to me.
Well, no, we didn't even talk about the really, really big. No, I'm just kidding. but is that the first time that they've ever used
that's the coining of the term is this game.
I can't confirm that, but I do know what Sean's talking about, that there is a section in the manual that just like has to tell you what a cutscene is.
I mean, it also kind of is like the first example of like a cutscene, you know, like where it says like an actual animated scene is happening in the middle of you doing other things.
It does say that on videogamedictionary.com, which I'm gonna trust. Videogamedictionary.com does say that the word cutscene was coined by Ron Gilbert for the game Maniac Mansion.
We just stumbled
upon
history, guys.
Wow.
That's why we do it chronologically.
And we've seen cutscenes before. We just, they just called it, I don't know, game movies. Like some dork.
Yeah. You know what's interesting about that, Joe? The real time thing you mentioned is like it's actually it's all faked in a way. Like there isn't a timer or like an end. Like you have to complete in a certain time or whatever. Like I know what you're talking about, and I'm not saying like I'm not trying to misconstrue what you said, but like it shows you this event. It's not like there was a clock ticking waiting for that to happen. Like it's triggered by something else in order to occur. It's not like there is what it kind of convinces you there might be, a actual like clock in the game saying like, oh, now it's 8:30, like this person's going to go do this, right?
Well, no, not to that extent, but I think that unless I've been tricked even more, I think there is a little bit of a clock where like you ring the doorbell and Ed is like, I got to go get the door. And now you have like 45 seconds to go into Ed's room before he gets the door and then comes back to his room.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, that's what I'm saying is like, but that only happens because the
you
cutscene triggered
it.
it. Right, yeah.
Right.
There apparently is like, I think there is a timer. Like I think you can run out of time though. Like if you fuck around too much.
I thought I heard that wasn't true. But
okay.
This is how rumors work, right?
Yeah.
Like
But there's also so much about, like, even when, like I said, I started to get to the end of my, like, second playthrough where I'm like, I really want to beat this time. And I did have to look some things up. It's not even that easy to look things up because it's like there's so many things you can do in this game. I feel like even the internet isn't, like, sure about everything. Or it's like, yeah, you could do this. I'm like, well, wait a minute. I went here and you're not even talking about that. Like, just think it's like, this is a hard game to talk about what actually can and can't happen because it's hard to confirm.
I love that. I love that.
Me too.
This is not a factual thing we can talk about.
Yeah, I think that's very important because I was just going to say, like, a lot of this game, you have to just like you have to talk about a very specific thing that, like, we're not going to give like all the context or whatever. But since we have talked about mailing in the memoir, I do think it's worth mentioning that like kids today might not be able to like recognize how to do that because you have to lift the flag on the mailbox upwards to indicate that there's mail in there. And so like you would be like, I put the mail in the mailbox. Why didn't it trigger the next step? And like, how many people do that? Like lift their mailbox to
I've never even thought about
mail
like,
in here.
Do kids know about lifting the flag on a mailbox anymore? Is that
no way? 0%.
Do they not learn this?
Yeah, in what class?
I mean,
in library class.
Library class. I think maybe we're not giving enough credit to Middle America right now, where I'm sure there's still lots of mailboxes. It's just I don't think it's not very often that you're sending letters anymore. No.
Yeah, I think that's the issue. Yes, because I think even people who have mailboxes, and I don't have the cool mailbox with the flag. I just have like the one that's like attached to your house.
What does that mean? Why can't that have a flag?
No, because it's like, it's the one, because it's just flat. It's like a flap and you just lift it up and there's mail in there.
I see.
You know what I mean?
The flap house.
Yeah, the flap house where where you mail your flaps. No, like I don't think like people are doing that. Like it's kind of like, I wonder how many other, like that was the one that stood out to me as like, I wonder how many people would not do that now. But like, I'm sure this game is, made in 1980. I'm sure it's filled with a lot of other like dated reference things that like might
like the
trip
cassette
people up.
tapes and the cassette recorder and things like that too.
The tapes are back in. They'll get that.
Yeah, and I also
They're
feel
in.
like they're in. Everything's
I
in.
didn't know.
Everything's expensive and everything's collectible and everybody wants everything. And if they don't have it and you do, now they want it even more.
That sounded like a perfect end of the show, Mike. I don't know.
Sorry. It's not the end of the show.
I was gonna ask you guys if we're looking for something to talk about to not end the show. What I've wanted to do since I started playing this game, all I really want to do is talk to other people who played this game and like compare what happened. Like, can I hear like a rundown of like the story that you went through, or at least like what happened?
Oh, I don't know how interesting that is.
Yeah,
really?
Well, yeah, just because I feel like go for it.
I mean, that's like all I want to talk is like what happened differently in my game, and like how did your game end, and what did you get, what didn't I get?
Joe, please tell us about your experience.
Well, I mean, so I got the ending with using Bernard radioing the meteor police, and he told me he'd come in 5 minutes, and I had to get to the basement and find a way to unlock within 5 minutes to unlock the door, because when he shows up when the door is not unlocked, he just leaves.
Oh, wow, that's kind of a pain in the ass.
Yeah, so, but I mean, he leaves, but then you can call him again. So I ended up having to call him again. This is on my second playthrough, so I had already done something like this before. I ended up having to call him again, and he comes down, the thing's open, he like arrests someone into the tentacle or whatever, and then I have to go in there, I have to pick up his badge that he dropped, impersonate meteor police to like get past the other tentacle, and then go in, put on a radioactive suit and disarm the machine that apparently is controlling the doctor. And then he's like, "Oh, sorry, I'm a good guy," and like, "My bad. What can I do? Let me shut everything down." And like that was it. But like even as I'm watching things, like now I'm seeing different endings of like them launching into space. I mean, you guys were talking about a totally different ending than I was. Like
Was it just a car launching into space?
It was a car launching into space.
Yeah, that's just a thing that can happen. That's not
the meteor.
ending.
The meteor,
not
the
an
one's
ending.
driving the car, right? Or yeah, the meteor is the one driving the car, right?
No, you could just have it accidentally launch into space and you blow up the garage.
Right. But the good ending would be the meteor driving the car out, right?
Oh, okay. I didn't get that ending. I know that was a thing.
So did you guys get an ending?
Yeah,
Yes,
it was the TV show ending.
That's the one I strived for as well. I think what's funny about that one is, other than the talk show part, is that once you get the publishing contract for the Meteor, the meteor tells Dr. Fred, release the women, all the women. We're going to be rich. Like, if the first plan was like, hey, if we just like if we kidnap a bunch of women, or presumably they only have Sandy, but like, if we kidnap a bunch of women, this is how we're going to get rich. And then he finds out about the publishing contract and he's like, screw it. Now we're going to be rich.
All the women.
All the women is a weird line.
It is a weird line.
Yeah.
All
maybe
women everywhere are free.
A bunch more we didn't know about.
That's true, right? How deep did the dungeon go?
Not that deep, actually.
Yeah, Joe, I think if you're looking for any other endings, though, the other ending is just with Dr. Fred in front of the house and everything after you've called the meteor police. That's the one that you experienced, where he apologizes to you?
In front of the house at the very end, but the actual like ending action was in the basement. But yes.
Yes. Okay. So those are like the 5 endings, if you will.
Oh, okay. Now, who did you guys use other than Dave?
I used Dave, Razor, because I thought, especially after not after reading that alternate ending. I used Dave, Razor, and Bernard, and you made me wonder: is Bernard the only one who gets called the tuna head, or is somebody always going to run away?
Because he's the only one that's a bitch.
No, that's right. Yeah, so I was just wondering if it was like a scripted thing where like someone, like whoever's like the first character,
we
runs
must have
away.
been using like the same walkthrough, because I also could not get too far in this on my own in the time allotted. So that was my lineup. But he is probably the best character in terms of like uses. But that is his one downfall, is he will run away from the tentacle when you have to get into that one room. You need somebody else to do that. And then the worst character is, I think, the blonde guy, which is, I think he can fix a telephone and that's it. But like Bernard can do that as well as other things. So that's your trade-off there.
It's really funny what you're talking about, Sean, because it's like Bernard is the nerd who can like fix things, and Razor and Sid both are musicians. Wendy's an aspiring novelist. Michael's the photographer. And Jeff can fix the telephone.
Right. Well, and also Dave is just the boyfriend. Like he can't,
he doesn't have any. He has no.
Yeah. He has no identity.
Yeah.
He's the leader, though. Obviously, he's the Tommy Pickles of the group.
Yeah. Right. But in my game the one that I actually got through, Dave went to the dungeon pretty quickly, and then he was just exclusively like my guy to get everybody else out of the dungeon. I did not use him the whole game.
He captured by the blue nurse.
Yes.
Yeah,
but
that's what happened to me too.
Yeah. I did also use, at least on my second time, I used Bernard and Razor. So it's funny that we all ended up there.
I mean, let's be honest.
You can't get rid of Razor.
That's the canon, is Razor.
Well, my first time...
Show me a redhead, I'm going to recruit the redhead.
I used Bernard and Michael, because I thought the ace photographer was going to come in handy.
I get it. You want him to be Spider-Man.
Yeah. And I liked his music.
You know what other music we enjoy? Maniac Mansion is an essential game. Whoa. Said it right away. The reason I said it right away, though, is because I stand by something I said in our Shadowgate episode, which is on the essential games list, but not with my vote. Shadowgate is also an essential game. One thing that I've been doing while talking about this episode is I've been talking about Maniac Mansion, the amazing game filled with lots of possibilities and plenty of comedic beats and just a great vibe overall, just a great time with the game, very chill, cozy. I really did not enjoy playing this on the NES. Now, I know Joe mentioned about the select hotkeys, and I agree that was a welcome thing, because it would have been really bad to have to, constantly go down to the lower half of the screen and select your action. However, I just couldn't stop thinking about how much better this game must be with a mouse and keyboard, to the point where I eventually just played it with a mouse and keyboard. Sure, the graphics are also better on the computer games, but I didn't think it was apparently a lot of people hate the NES style. I didn't think it was that bad or anything. I'm not keeping this off changing my vote to a no because of anything other than just the fact that I didn't like playing this with an NES controller. You give me a mouse and keyboard, this game still holds up no problem in 2025, but I can't in good faith put the NES version on our NES Essential Games list. And so I'm going to say no, but I won't be surprised to see a Shadowgate situation where this is on the list anyway. Sean?
No, I actually kind of agree with you here. I at no point really had that. I was always charmed by the game, but maybe this is making me think about things and decisions made, and about reasons for putting games on lists. Because that's exactly that was exactly my thought. Like, I wanted to play Day of the Tentacle because part of it's like, oh, it's this, but it's also like it's like I can play it with the input device that it's meant to be played with. Like, I remember I bought Myst on PS1, and I just could not abide by just using like a D-pad and some buttons. Like, I think that this is now me kind of mea culpa-ing Shadowgate in a way, because again, both great games, but they are definitely not the perfect way to play them. So yeah, I'm gonna keep it off as well.
Joe, you can't put it on, but you could put it on your personal Essential Games list. What is your vote?
Well, I'm crushed, but yeah, I'm voting this essential. Like, absolutely, I had so much fun with this, and I get what you guys are both saying. I mean, absolutely, this is clearly like would be more comfortable with a mouse and keyboard, I guess, or just a mouse.
Yeah, you wouldn't need the keyboard actually. Now that I mentioned it, yeah.
I guess you wouldn't, but like, to me, it's just like not that big of a deal. It's not like it's not like it's like a mouse where I'm like moving through 3D space. I'm just moving a cursor around the thing. So it's like, I agree that like it would be better that way, but like, I haven't played it that way to even compare it. And the amount of fun that I had with this game, and like how impressed I was with everything you can do, how much this game is working in the background, all the different paths you can go on, the multiple endings. I mean, like, I'm itching to play this again and try a different ending and try, doing things that, I didn't complete last time, and seeing all the things that I can do other ways. And maybe I will try it on the PC, but like, just don't know if just the lack of that mouse is like enough of a difference to say like, yeah, this is not an essential NES game. I think that, or like an essential game, like play this game. If you have an NES, like, I don't think at least I don't regret playing this on the NES. Like, well,
I wouldn't say it's regret.
It's not enough. What's that?
I don't know if it's regret is what we would describe.
Well, yeah, I'm not saying you guys regret it. I'm just saying, like, playing it on the NES was a blast for me, regardless of like the inconvenience of using the D-pad. It just wasn't that big of a deal to me. So like, everything else about this game was head and shoulders like in the essential for me. So I got to stick with essential.
Yeah, I think that's fair, Joe. And I also think you're hitting something correct there, which is a lot of, as I was saying in the episode, like, I don't think a lot of people experience this on computers first. Like, I think the NES entry was their even their gateway to point and click games at all, right? Like, they might not have ever played a point and click computer game. And so Maniac Mansion opened that world for them with the NES controller, and that's what they had. Obviously, Sean and I aren't arguing that. And I think it's funny that somehow we've kept Maniac Mansion, which, I had a blast with, off the Essential Games list, while we're all agreeing that it is a great game. I stand by what I said, though. What happens so far on the episode, to recap, is... do you imagine? I have a bulletproof explanation for everything that's gone on so far. Everything, by the way, that we've said, nothing was cut. Nintendo didn't censor us. We don't have to... we can say damn. We could say shithead on this episode, despite what Sean thinks. Sean, I appreciate you for getting ahead of things. And speaking of getting ahead of things, if you want to get ahead... we have next week we are playing a game that has NES in the title. That's pretty weird.
That's pretty hot.
Sorry, that's not next week though. Yeah, it's not next week. It's the week after that. I was going off memory. Next week's Mission Impossible. Who cares? Who fucking cares? Mission Impossible.